We're going to be talking about inheritance tax. Not that we've not seen enough change already with pensions being brought into inheritance tax land in the last announcement. And it would be completely inconceivable to think that Rachel Reeves would not possibly, could just possibly just leave it alone, not want to have to go after the money that you accumulate into give to your beneficiaries, your loved ones after you're gone, so they can perhaps have a better start than you did. Absolutely not. There are real things being proposed or rumored to be proposed and introduced in the autumn budget. And that's what we're going to be covering in this video. Now, I have to stress at the moment, these are just rumors. But the point of this channel is obviously to keep you informed with things that might be announced, how they work, and how they will impact you. I know people get really passionate in the comment section about whether I should be covering this kind of stuff or not. It's my channel. I want to educate. So that's what we're going to do. So please stay tuned if you think this is something that may actually impact you. We're going to go through the article that announces this, and I'm going to scribe and draw some stuff for you because I think if you need a visual reference, you can have a visual reference to help the information disseminate and get digested a little bit easier. Couple of things. First and foremost, before we get started, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, please do subscribe. Looking at my analytics, a large number of you are watching the channel but not subscribed. So if you do get value from this particular one and think he's wearing a silk shirt, I like what he's saying, then please smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. You'll get notified when I upload the next video. Second thing, really important, I have been hearing the feedback about the frame rates being dropped. I've been working on this for a very long time now to get a fix. I thought I had a fix, and apparently the last video still wasn't fixed. So I've had to go out and get another piece of software, and hopefully this one should not have any frame rate drops. So please let me know if this looks perfect for you. I did a test the other day. It should be perfect, but please let me know in the comment section if you're still noticing frames being dropped and it's lagging. I have to go back to the drawing board. But fingers crossed, touch wood, it's done. All right, let's jump straight into the article, the source article. So, Rachel Reeves' inheritance tax rate to cost average homeowner £82,000. Families with affordable properties and moderate pension pots face five-figure death duty bills. Now, look, I don't know about you, but the whole idea of inheritance tax is just fundamentally unpalatable. I've already said, we work all our lives to accumulate some money to give money to beneficiaries who may or may not need it, or possibly just to give people something, a legacy. And these guys are plotting on ways to get more of that money after you've paid tax on the earning of that income anyway, and the investment of that income anyway. This is just complete. It feels like daylight robbery, but you let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, this is essentially what is being suggested, that there might be a little bit of a cap on how much can be gifted. We'll talk about that specifically in a minute, but let's have a bit of a background on how it currently works. So, inheritance tax is charged on all assets above a £325,000 threshold, known as the nil rate band. The allowance increases by £175,000 when you have a main residence, when you leave a main residence to a direct descendant. So, simple terms, 325,000 plus 175,000 equals £500,000 as a single person, which means that you can have an estate worth £500,000. And if you're below that amount or at that amount, you can pass off that asset, that legacy to your loved ones without having to pay inheritance tax. The minute you go over, 40% tax is essentially due on that inheritance tax. Now, what they're basically saying here is that in London, sole ownership of an average price home is £565,000. Plus, if you've got a £415,000 pension, which is what they're deeming to be what you would need for just a normal way of life when you come to retire, that will put you at the moment in the realm for a tax bill of £192,000 for inheritance tax if you left that to your kids, because the numbers will take you to about 900 grand, roughly, just under a mil, right? But as a single person, your threshold is £500,000, including your home. So that would result in a bill of £192,000 254 for your loved ones. Now, in this conversation, and I used to be a financial advisor, I haven't advised for a very long time now. These conversations, let me just go full screen here. Conversations about inheritance tax are often had too late. It's really important to have these conversations much, much earlier because whilst you might not necessarily be the one who's paying the 40% tax bill, your beneficiaries are going to be paying the 40% tax bill. And I think fundamentally, when you think about what inheritance tax is and how it works, in this example in the article where the tax bill would be £192,000, the government has done diddly squat for that money. So why should they have it, regardless of whether you're paying it or your daughter's paying it or a family member or a beneficiary that you select? Why should they have to pay it? And the reason why I say that is because it's very important to have this type of a assessment around what your potential inheritance tax will be in the future so you can mitigate it early. And there are a number of ways in which you can do that that doesn't have to be completely expensive. It can be done very inexpensively. Now, obviously, if you're a couple, then that £500,000 is £1 million. Really, really important. Now, in this article, let me just go back over here, talks a little bit about pensions. Now, in the last budget, what happened? Pensions were brought into inheritance tax land because prior, pensions sat outside of your estate for inheritance tax purposes, which meant that before 75, there was nothing to pay. Now, pensions are included in the inheritance tax calculation. But here's some really, I want to say, is disturbing the right word? I don't know that I could use any other word that would describe this aptly enough. Currently, pensions are inherited entirely tax free. Okay. If the deceased was under the age of 75, up to a limit of 1.07 million, families whose late relative died age 75 and over have to pay income tax on inherited pensions. That's how it works right now. So the changes that she announced the last time round come in April 26. We still got a couple of years for it to actually come in. So currently, under the rules, you can inherit a pension if it's after 75. The recipients, the beneficiaries, will pay income tax on that pension. The Chancellor's rule change will mean death duties of up to 40% being applied to unspent private pension pots. The government believes the tax will raise around £1.5 billion a year by 2029 to 2030. So effectively, what they're looking to change here and what will be coming into force in April is it's now fully included in your estate. And that means that there is no more any 75 age bracket. If you die, even if it is before you can even access it, legally at the moment at 57, this applies. So this is quite a significant change. And again, it brings us back to the really important point of plan for this early. So I need to really drive this home, guys. Plan for this early. If you have a property that's worth a certain value, you have workplace pensions that are worth a certain value or a private pension. If you've got ISAs, investments, you need to do the assessment of where you are as an individual and essentially as a couple. Because if you are over your threshold, individually or joint, there are things that you can do to mitigate that risk. Now, also in this article, it does talk a little bit about the spousal exemption because, if you are married and, Mr. dies first, you can transfer the exemption basically to still keep that £1 million kind of like total threshold between a married couple. But it doesn't work if you're not a married couple. So there is one benefit there, absolutely, of being married, but it just reiterates what I already mentioned. It comes after the Treasury confirmed that the inheritance tax on pension pots will apply even if the saver dies before they are allowed to access their pension aged 55. Labour have decided to press ahead with the reforms despite strong criticism from the pension industry. I think, look, I've worked in the pensions world for some time. I'm very, very passionate about pensions because of my dad. And This is hugely disincentivizing for anyone to accumulate any kind of meaningful sums in a pension. Now, the flip side to that is, well, if you don't pay into a pension, you're going to face pension poverty. True, but we should not lead with a stick when we can be just leading with a carrot. This is leading with a stick. Where is the carrot now? Where's the incentive? Like, even if you amass such a good number within your pension pot, and let's just say you don't survive to even access it, your kids, your what, like, how can they justify your kids having to pay 40% potentially on a pot of money that you've worked to accumulate for your future that you want to leave to them? If this isn't daylight robbery, I just don't know what it is. This is why I want to go to like the visuals here, because I'm just going to share this screen right here. So, as we've already mentioned, this is your estate, okay? £500,000. So 325,000 on your nil rate band, which is basically going to be for your investment account, savings account, all that kind of stuff. 325,000, and then 175 for your main residence if you're leaving it to a loved one. Okay, so that's your maximum. If it's a married couple, you're a married couple, you've got a million times that by two, but we're going to work on an individual basis. We've already discussed pensions are already in this world now from April of 2027. Okay. And they'll be able to tax that. So now, what that basically means is that this £500,000, because people weren't hitting the limit, your pension is going to mean that you're going to hit your £500,000 limit even quicker. If you think about the average cost of a home across the UK, probably about 250, 290, roughly, right? That's already half of your allowance already, straight off the bat. So you're going to hit it very, very quickly, which means planning is even important. Now, I put the house down here because obviously part of this is the 175K, which is already in there. But the value of your house overall becomes a very, very important equation. If it's in London, for example, you're looking at 595. Dude, like, if you've got even £200,000 in a pension, then you're liable for inheritance tax. You're being pulled into the inheritance tax gap. So this equation, really important to understand how this works. And I wanted to make this visual representation because sometimes when you see a visual, it's easy to kind of like make sense of it, right? Because it's there written down. One thing they are also thinking about changing, and this is very, very important, is gifting. So this is a tactic a lot of people currently use and have been using for some time now, where you can gift money away to family members, so on and so forth. And as long as you don't die within 7 years, you basically get a taper on how much tax you pay. If you die after 7 years, it's completely 0% tax from an inheritance tax point of view. However, they are also thinking about changing that. Now, when it comes to gifting, there are certain rules around what you can gift and how you can gift and when you can gift and who you can gift to and where the gift basically comes from. For that, I would strongly advise that you go and see a financial advisor and get some advice on this for sure. But just an illustration of how it currently works, all right? So let's just say, and I'm going to make up a number here. Let's just say you gave little Johnny £1,000 this year, okay? If you died in the first 3 years of that gift, well, Johnny will have to pay 40% in tax on that £1,000. It's between 3 and 4, it's 32%, 4 and 5, 24%, 5 and 6, 16%, and then 6 to the 7th year, it's only an 8% charge from inheritance tax point of view. If you die after 7 years, then as I've already said, it's zero that that Johnny would have to pay for that £1,000 that you gifted him over that period of time. Now, what they're suggesting they're going to change is they're either going to cap the amounts, right? So limit the amounts that you can gift during your lifetime, or they're simply just going to wholesale change this structure right here. So now the loophole that people have, well, I wouldn't say loophole, the policy that people have been using to be able to gift bits of money. And look, you weren't able to gift substantial amounts of money anyway, but the policy that was allowing you to gift amounts of money to loved ones, well, that one is also going to be looked at stringently as well. I tell you this right now, mate. Like, this is very much a symptom of where we are as a nation and how dire our situation is. Because if you've worked, and I've always said this at the beginning, I'm going to repeat this again. So sorry if people don't like it being repeated, but you cannot get past the immutable fact. You've gone to work, you paid income tax, you paid national insurance contributions. If you put it into an investment and it's outside an ISA, you pay capital gains tax, dividends tax, you've already paid tax on all of this stuff, right? During your working life and you're spending your money, you're paying VAT and all this kind of stuff. You try and put some money away into a pension or into investments that you want to leave to your kids, and they are going to have to pay 40% tax. And they're trying to tighten it even more so they can pull more people into a tax paying threshold and get more of the money. When I don't want to say when did this end because I don't want to kind of like rile people up, but boy, we need I'm kind of like speechless. I hope this doesn't get announced. Like I said, this is a rumor, but I don't know. Look, this is just really messed up. You let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And if you need a little bit of help making an assessment or something like that around your situation right now, I do coaching. Reach out to me. There is a link in the description down below. See you at the next video. Cheers.